Greetings and acknowledgement to the presiding officers, ministers, representatives here today, and deep thanks to the Deputy Speaker for the invitation to speak here today, and appreciation also to all of you doing such inspiring and good work to uplift men and boys as agents of gender justice. So I come to you today from the United States and as a representative of Gender Equity and Reconciliation International, as well as our South African partner, Genderworks. And this is a program that's been developed for over 30 years to transform relations between men and women. And it's been implemented here in South Africa since 2003. In 2006, we were invited by the former Deputy Minister of Health, Nozizwe Madlala Rutledge, to convene a program here with members of parliament. In 2012, our South African partner, Genderworks, was founded to implement the work here. I want to acknowledge the chairperson of Genderworks Exco, Ms. Desireé English, who's also here with us today. And we just recently have published a new book, Gender Equity and Reconciliation, 30 Years of Healing the Most Ancient Wound in the Human Family. And we invited the Deputy Speaker to write a brief endorsement, which he very graciously did. And this book documents the Gender Equity and Reconciliation International Program, which has organized experiential trainings for men and women and people of all genders to go into deep truth-telling around the challenges of men and women, and to enter into a process of collective transformation, collectively transforming the fundamental challenges related to gender and sexuality. It's a program that's been introduced to nearly 30,000 people in 18 countries on 6 continents, including thousands here in South Africa, and over 100 facilitators who have been trained to implement the work here. And so this book features 20 co-authors from 10 different countries, 7 who are here from South Africa. And they span a broad range of professional expertise and culture, background, religion, gender, race, ethnicity, and together have a combined experience of almost 1,000 years of living. And so the Gender Reconciliation Program applies the principles of truth and reconciliation to advance gender equality. The program was formally endorsed by Archbishop Desmond Tutu in 2013, who launched a collaborative partnership with GERI, Gender Equity and Reconciliation International, the Desmond and Leah Tutu Legacy Foundation, and Stellenbosch University. And the foreword to this book is by Archbishop Tutu's daughter, Mpho Tutu van Furth. So this GERI program has been implemented in very diverse contexts, from prisons to parliaments, and religious communities to academic institutions, rural communities in Kenya and South Africa, to UN affiliates in New York City. And taken together, these successful applications of this process in these widely diverse contexts demonstrate as a kind of robust pathway for transforming gender injustice and restoring right relations between the genders. The methodology of the program is highly experiential and personal. It is about the stories and pains that each of us hold as men and women, and that we've gone through as boy or girl children. The stories that so often shape our lives in unimaginable ways, but which we so rarely have the space to share, especially in the presence of the other gender. There are many organizations doing such good, important work with men and boys, so many that are represented here today. One of the things that is unique about the Gender Reconciliation Program is that we work with both men and women and people of all genders together. We have learned that men cannot hear the deep truth of women's pain and remain the same men. By the same token, women cannot hear the deep truth of men's pain and remain the same women. When we hear each other's stories, the heart naturally opens and changes. So in our programs, we create a safe space for both men and women to speak truth to their challenging, difficult, and even painful experiences around gender and sexuality. We often summarize our methodology in the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s declaration that injustice and corruption will never be transformed by keeping them hidden, but only by bringing them out into the light and confronting them with the power of love. So this is what we invite men into in our programs, and they are invited and supported and challenged not only to deeply witness and receive the truth of women's experience, but also to show up fully as men who are willing to share their own stories, their own hurts, their own longings, invited to step into a new mode of masculinity where vulnerability is the true strength and where they allow themselves to be deeply seen and heard. And time again, when men are but invited into this opportunity, they show up in new and profoundly moving ways. As part of the GERI methodology, after we've spent a day or two creating safety and coming together, we convene a process where the women are invited to speak deeply to their experience in just the witnessing of men. And then we reverse the process and the men are invited to speak as well. And just earlier this month, we convened a 3-day process in Quebeja, formerly Port Elizabeth, with Genderworks and the South African Development Research and Training Institute. And in this process, one of the young women shared a very deep and painful experience from her childhood. One she had never shared in this way before and never shared in front of men. And afterwards, she was talking with us about her process and how she could actually feel the deep listening of this group of men. She could look around and see that, yes, I am being seen, I am being heard, and that their empathetic listening was actually supporting her, propelling her forward to share this story she had carried for so long. And so these men were invited and challenged to show up with their whole hearts, to listen without rushing in to fix, to be there and fully receive the story of another. And they did. They did in such a powerful way that they supported this young woman to share and begin to unburden herself of a story she had carried for so long. Just again last week, here in Cape Town, we convened another process. And when it came time for this deep truth-telling, the women actually invited the men to speak first, to step into the center first, and to be the ones to open up, to share their vulnerabilities, their hurts, what they had experienced. Something that, as you well know, is not always easy for men to do, especially in the presence of women. And again, these men showed up shared with incredible depth about what they had been through as men, the abuse they have experienced as boys, the hurt they felt at absent father figures, the losses and heartbreaks they've lived through. And for so many of these women, they have never heard men speak in this way, have never heard men open up about what is aching in their heart, never seen men shed tears talking about what they've lived through. And the women were so deeply touched. One of the women said afterwards, we talk about Ubuntu, but sitting here listening to you today, I had the most profound experience of what that means. And it's something we often hear in this work, that people say this process of listening, of sharing, it has opened my heart in ways I did not even know it was closed. And one of the things that men discover is that the greatest male privilege is not any of the societal advantages afforded to men in a patriarchal society, but that the greatest male privilege is to enter fully into collaboration and partnership with women, and to be a part of transforming the system of injustice itself, to be a part of restoring wholeness in the human family. And so that is the commitment that men leave with after moving through this process. So just thank you so much for the time today, and we invite you to connect with Genderworks, South African affiliate, as well as Gender Equity and Reconciliation International. Thank you very much.